mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah. You know I be on a what? Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what? Yeah.
What's up, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Ride the Rebellion Lifestyle Podcast. Just mixing it up over here. With me today, as always, is the king, the legend, the man, the myth, the motivator, Dale Boyd of Dale Boyd Motivation Management.
Hey, actually, I just do that stuff so it motivates me. It's like if I don't make that post, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I've been making posts in our Ride the Rebellion podcast group on Facebook, and if I don't make that post, that means I didn't do anything that day.
Now I get it. It's called
So-
accountability buddies.
Yeah, it's my own accountability.
Yeah.
So I'm actually just talking to myself, and I'm glad y'all are reading it and picking up on it, and it's really cool. I've gotten a ton of text, and it's inspiring for everybody, I guess.
Yeah, look, the reality of it is we've talked about this a lot, but I think one of the biggest things is well, we'll save it and talk about it here in a minute, but we'll get to that. So that's my hanger for you if you're listening to the show. Real quick housekeeping, as always, if you have not followed us on social media, my gosh, you're missing out on Dale's motivation, snarky remarks from Pat, inside jokes that you're not part of, lots of things that are all there, but
And recycled video content.
recycled video content. But yeah, if you haven't, just check out Ride the Reb. For those that are listening for the very first time, my God, go back to the catalog. Like you can pause this episode, go back to the catalog and dig around because there's so much going on. Specifically, lots of
Few
different
years
things.
worth now.
Yeah, we're in almost year 3.
It's crazy. It's crazy. It's been a crazy ride.
It's been a good.
We didn't know shit about bikes when we started. We still don't know shit about bikes.
No, I
but
know
here we are.
nothing. Yeah.
I know nothing.
I saw a meme the other day that was like, I don't remember exactly how it went. It was basically like asking it was like one of those GIF or those motion memes. It was like asking your buddy to help fix your bike. And he's just like throwing his hands up and throwing a tantrum. I was like, that's pretty much anytime I ask Jakey Poo about a bike.
Oh,
scenario.
yeah.
Todd, on the other hand,
No, Todd is all.
Todd is Amish and he wants to fix your bike. And then he gets Canadian halfway through it and starts apologizing. And I don't know for what, because I don't know if he broke it or not. I'm too stupid to know what the hell he's doing. But
Oh, man.
the Todd does all that stuff. So housekeeping wise, if you haven't followed us on social media, do so. It's Ride the Reb. You can find it everywhere your social media is, except for the Tic Tacs, because we're not on the Tic Tacs yet. Maybe one day we'll make funny videos and put them on there and compete with the fat mountain bike guy. That's awesome. Shout outs to the sponsors that we have. Of course, like right now we're getting paid to be a sponsor, and that's always great, or to have sponsors, and we're very grateful for all of them. So there's no particular order, rhyme or reason. One of them we're going to talk about, which is Build, Tune, Ride. So we're going to save that more as a segment because, again, we both have firsthand experience, but Dale just had a really great one, and I think it's worth talking about. But also just a shout out to Summit Bike Academy. You can head over to summitbikeacademy.com and get better at riding because Toby and team are fantastic at it. Totally worth it. You can also head over to, or once you get better at riding, you can head over to Ruston and go visit Lincoln Parish Park. They have the hub there. If you've not seen that video, it's available. Check it out. It'll be in the link below. We actually have been engaged to do more content for them. So we're very excited to release some more content. We're going to have a little ride out there. I don't know. Maybe we'll make it public and see if people want to show up. Not the first day. Maybe the second day we'll make it public. The first day we actually got to get work done. Second day, maybe we make a big shenanigans out of it. You can come be in a video and help that park grow a little bit. Obviously, Man of War Tattoo, Kevin Black. We're waiting for Kevin to return. I think he's going to come in with wrestling music and he's going to be like more ripped than ever. It'll be a fantastic return for Kevin Black. Run and Try. I just got new shoes. That's another reason why you should be follow our social media. I saw on our social media, Dale shared it, that Run and Try had a sidewalk sale. And sure enough, I got in there and got $50 off a new pair of shoes, which I needed. And then I was able to talk to Aaron and order some topos for the next, whenever they release them in February. But I like the outdoor topos, and they had those. He doesn't carry them in stock anymore because only weirdos like me buy them. But my favorite shoes. So we have those. Who am I forgetting?
Pro Cycle.
Pro Cycle. We haven't talked about them in a minute, and I missed the shite out of them. In fact, I got a lot of compliments. Last time I wore that jersey of theirs, I posted on social media, but last time I wore their jersey, which is by Brian Tan, who actually did the doors. Can you see the doors? Yeah, that door right there. Same guy. I did it first. He was my guy first, and Pro Cycle stole it. But Brian Tan did the art. It's really cool. It's a cool jersey because it's unique. You're not going to find another jersey like that, but also you're not going to find the quality of human beings like you will if you go see Joseph and Katie, because they're just quality mother truckers.
And by now, Joseph should be back on the bike after rowing a kayak 650 miles.
Yeah, whatever that. We got to bring him on for that.
That's so dumb.
Insanity. So yeah, that's the majority of that stuff. So again, it's off episode, so we're just going to jump into it. I know that I've had some conversations with some individuals, so a little housekeeping on my side about kids working on trails. And so I'm still not going to make a retraction, but I am going to double down on the fact that it was good to hear. And I've talked to multiple people that I was kind of wrong. Not 100%. I will never admit defeat. No CEO admits defeat. Ask Alan, the soft member. But I was kind of wrong in some cases. So there are kids out there doing that stuff, and I think that's fantastic. Hopefully there's more. But the big debate, the big conversation that came out of it, and people have thrown it back in my face, is that they don't have time to take a photograph. Well, let me explain something to you guys very quickly in advertising. If you're attempting to market anything, meaning you want to grow your team, you want to grow your group, you want to grow your brand in any way, shape, or form, first off, people don't read. People on Facebook read. Your mom, she reads your posts. I don't. If you don't have a picture, I don't read your post. And I'm in my 40s. So you go even younger and there's less reading. So first and foremost, you need to throw up a picture. So if you're trying to convey messaging, please use visual imagery to do so. It'll benefit you tenfold. It can be even a GIF. It doesn't matter. GIF, if you're really a lame-o, but it could be a GIF. But make sure you're posting some kind of visual to capture people's attention if you want to spread the message. This is just marketing advice, right? Secondly, you're stupid not to use video, because video, even if it has sound, even if it's a music piece like Dale does, video at the end of the day gives you two forms of engagement, which is audio and visual. And at the end of the day, that ends up helping further. But just keep in mind, most people watch all Facebook videos in what? Silence.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure your content's engaging. So if you want to show that stuff, show a child with a chainsaw, and I guarantee you'll get a bunch of views.
Or sued. Whatever. One or the other.
Either way.
I mean, negativity is good publicity.
Listen, especially on the Book of Face.
It truly is. I post these great videos. They're great. They're very much,
They're great.
They're pretty
They're
much
good.
the greatest.
Yeah.
And it gets no views.
Right.
I post like a video that's unedited and just lame, and it gets a gazillion views.
Yep.
It's crazy. The algorithms are crazy, but you can't find out unless you're putting it out there, like Drew's saying. And that marketing moment is brought to you by Craft Show Digital for all of your marketing needs.
Yeah, but you guys can't meet our threshold, so don't even bother calling. Straight up gangster. I've been reworking the business.
Unless you have cool bike trails, we can probably come.
Oh yeah. No, that we give you a break. If it's bike related, I get in deep shit for this all the time. I literally have discounted. Dale goes with me. I'm like, well, listen, I need to have a grip.
Yeah.
And then I got to have a rider. I don't need a grip for necessarily what I'm doing all the time. Maybe like 4 out of 20 shots.
Yeah.
But I need the rider, so it works out and everybody wins. Dale gets paid. We ride bikes. We film some cool stuff. Everybody wins. But the truth is, I really do. I get in trouble a lot with the president because I discount jobs based on proximity to mountain bike trails.
Well, for real though, this is a really good spot to say we are working with the city of Ruston or the Visit Ruston. If you live in a municipality, that has visit your area,
CVB they call it.
Okay, there you go. This is the non-professional.
Yeah.
This is the guy that just rides in the van. Also, that's a deep one.
Deep cuts. Right.
All right.
There.
So anyway, if you have an area and you have sweet mountain bike trails and you need them digitally, and
I'll take
all of it, we are the men for that.
The other reason that we're saying that though is because one of the things that we did for our local Samba chapter that ended up being very effective. It's how me and Dale, I guess, really connected. Really, even taking Dale into the business was we did a like why ride video or whatever, and it worked really, really, really well. And so then with Experience Ruston and doing this stuff for the Lincoln Parish Park, same kind of vibe with some of the stuff we've done with Toby and friends. I guess my point is that mountain biking is a visual medium. Yes, there are great frames that can a single still image that can convey that, but in reality, we all know we're moving. So sometimes it's fun to do that. So if we can help you promote your trails or your club or whatever, it's not as expensive as you think. It's actually pretty cheap based on if there's an opportunity for us to go have fun too. I will find a way to make it work. I know the owner, so I can figure out how to make it work, but Dale's not wrong. We would love to help on that side of it. Speaking of cool trails and places to go ride that are unique, that need some video done, on the pro level, that would be the Stockyard. And I say that because I just think it's a really interesting place. I did not get to go to the Muskrat Jamboree, Muskogee,
The Jagrundy.
Jagrundy,
It's still funny.
Jagrundy Jubilee. But Dale did have to send in his fork, and we did want to say this is not a. This is look. Our sponsors, with the exception of Lincoln Parish Park, who happened to turn out to be really rad or experienced Rustin, they turned out to be amazing human beings, and we're very grateful for that relationship. Our sponsors on this show are people that we believe in 100%. There's no bullshit. You're not going to get a bunch of dumb ads. That's why all of our ads are like in the show like this and real. But this one's 100% real from a product standpoint. This is an individual doing it, having a fork issue and then learning there was more to it. Dale recently had his fork. Ooh, that was almost a bad word. His fork. His fork diddled with by Jody. Jody diddled his fork. And anyway, so we were just going to talk about that. So can you set that up? Like, what was the issue with your Zeb?
No, it's a lyric.
Lyric.
The issue is what is common thread on this podcast is Dale's lack of maintenance. Dale doesn't do maintenance. Dale just rides and acts like he has a pro maintenance team taking care of his shit, but he doesn't. And that's what my fork had. It's kind of embarrassing how many miles and hours on it, but it had never been serviced. So Jody and I talked, and he's like, dude, you've got to get it to me before it breaks. And this is a PSA for anybody that doesn't service their suspension, because it's like getting new tires on your car or getting a roof on your house. It's like a necessary evil, but it's not something like super tangible. You're like, oh, wow,
Right.
cool. I got this fork service.
Most people take it to where it's about like it shows the wear.
Right. Exactly.
And in reality,
I think I was
Yeah.
nearing that level. So he saw the fork. He kind of helped me try to tune it. And he was like, dude, this thing's destroyed. So I rode for a couple more weeks naturally, because I couldn't just commit then. I sent my fork to him, which was a seamless and super easy. Just pack it up, send it to him. He'll get it. And he serviced it and sent me pictures of it being serviced, told me how destroyed it was and how near failure it was, which is scary. And he also upgraded it with a pro enduro kit inside of it, which is something that he offers and he truly believes in, and it's freaking awesome. So if you want your fork that's older and you don't want to upgrade a fork, I mean, my fork is perfectly fine. Trying to upgrade every year would be impossible. But if you want a different feel from the same fork, this is a way you can do that. And if you're interested, talk to Jody about it, because literally, as much of a maintenance idiot as I am, I'm a equipment idiot too. So
yeah. Well,
I would completely say the wrong things.
And there's a bunch of standardizations across when you should have your fork serviced or your shock serviced. And they're probably good. They're probably good practice, best practice type stuff. It's kind of like oil changes. I'm not here to give you any automotive advice.
It's also probably going to blow the warranty if you don't do it.
That's correct.
Intervals.
That's where I was going to go with. So following that process is probably a good thing. If you're over under, it's not the end of the world, but I try and do mine I don't ride necessarily as much or I hadn't been. My new bike, yes, I've been riding a lot more. And then of course I destroyed a fork. We remember that whole story, but I try and go through and make sure mine are serviced every 18 months is normally where I line up on mine. It could probably be every year. It's a lot easier now that I have Jody. Frankly, the fact is you just pull your parts, send them to them, and just be done.
Just a couple days.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't take any time to get it back.
It's also a great excuse to buy another bike, which Jody happens to sell. I'm not saying you need it intense. Maybe you get whatever you want, but
or those new Mondrakers. He sells all the Mondrakers too.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Pretty awesome.
Eric Hagen just got one.
Yep.
Hagen just got an electric Mondraker.
Mm-hmm. But they're sweet bikes.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a tough time with the name. It seems like Moonraker to me. And all I think about Moonraker is Jaws.
Stuff? Oh.
No, Moonraker? James Bond?
What? Not a Bond guy either.
Dale! I don't even know if you're a male anymore.
Only Bond I did.
Dale's not a male. He's a quail.
Oh, we're trying to get votes for that election in a week. Here we go.
Yeah, dropping it hot.
The only Bond stuff I did was on N64 playing 007.
What game was that?
007.
No, it's GoldenEye.
Oh, okay.
Lord Almighty! You've never seen? What's
I've
the last
seen
James
some of
Bond
them,
movie
like Daniel Craig ones.
Yeah, but Daniel Craig is like pretty much
Pierce
gay in
Brosnan, was he one?
Yeah. He's
Okay,
pretty much
maybe-
gay too, but he was good gay.
That's all I've seen. Then.
Goldeneye. Goldeneye is the best James Bond movie ever made. Fight me.
Oh, I don't know.
Not you, the audience.
Like you would win because I'd
Somewhere-
be like, okay, cool. Is
There-
this like
there-
Austin Powers?
Dirty Uncle Chase is like, no, it has to be. And he probably has the box set on VHS. He busts them out every night. And he watches Her Majesty's Secret Service, which is the only one that is not an officially licensed Bond film.
I assume
Or
it's right next to it.
Maybe it is. It's George R. Martin. That's not who it is. It's George somebody.
It's right next to his MASH box set.
He
VHS.
watches MASH. Yeah. And on New Year's Eve, he makes Amber watch the MASH season finale, which is so depressing. So it's like, what are you doing? I don't know if that's true, Chase. If it is, you know what? I'm glad I knew that about you.
If it's not true, then I'm sorry we interrupted your Xena Warrior Princess evening for it.
Just hold on, though. Let's talk about this because actually some of the best content ever. This is the one thing I hate. We talk about movies a lot.
Yeah, we do.
So you guys don't understand. Like
I
Dale,
have to talk about them, and then Drew actually fills in all the blanks. That I left out.
Dale does assume I know every actor. So he will be like, oh, this guy?
Yeah, that's true.
It's, Jacob Trousers. And I'm like, I don't know Jacob Trousers. Anyway, that sounds like a porn name. Point is, we talk a lot about it. And my thing was, if you remember back in the 90s, if you have a certain age, the young people, the three young people listening to this, just get your orange VHS tapes out. But back then, there was all these syndicated shows: Hercules, Xena, Walker, Texas Ranger was you had the Babylon 5, which was a space show. You had, there was so many. There was one that was called Viper. Do you remember that show?
I do remember Viper. What about was the UFO one? Was it syndicated?
Not X-Files.
Oh, it wasn't.
No.
Okay.
No, it was a Fox show.
Okay.
But there was other ones. There was a War of the Worlds.
You know
TV
what
show.
else was syndicated back when I would skip school? Gilligan's Island.
Oh yeah, of course.
And like those kind of shows would be
Oh,
on
yeah.
USA and
Yep.
PBS during
Yep.
the day.
But they were just filling time, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about all that stuff was it was content to watch. It was garbage watch. There was one called Thunder in Paradise featuring Hulk Hogan driving a boat. He just drove a boat with guns on it.
They just put out so many shows back then.
Dude, it was nuts.
They're like, oh wait, Baywatch is good. Let's do
Right.
anything off of Baywatch. We
Oh
can.
yeah, 100%. But I guess my thing was like back then you had that kind of content. Now, like we have to have long conversations to try and figure out what it is, and most of it's like bigger stuff. But I will tell you, I've watched two movies, one of which I can't suggest that you watch this because it's kind of an art film. So I'm not telling anyone to watch, and it is one of the most disturbing films I've ever seen. It's called Substance, has Demi Moore. Just be prepared for the amount of nudity, non-sexual nudity. It is all about it's very much an art film, so it's about the female form. But then it has, I think it's Marlee Matlin's daughter, who is smoking hot, and she's naked in it too. It is the most disturbingly weird movie. It's basically about a drug that Demi Moore takes, being older, to create a younger version of herself.
Oh,
But the way that it goes is not how you think it's going to go. And then the back half of the movie, it's in chapters. The back half of the movie is, if you're not into, what do they call it? Body horror. If you're not into body horror, then you definitely can't handle it because it is the most insane. Although you laugh a little bit because it's so bizarre. There's like a reference to gore in it
wow.
because there's a sequence where there's so much blood spraying over a crowd and they play metal. So it feels like you're at a gore show. It's the weirdest, but I can't stop thinking about it. So arguably it's a good piece of art. So not saying anyone should go watch that movie, but if you're into that kind of stuff and you would like to see something very bizarre and something that will haunt you slightly, then I highly suggest this movie called, I don't suggest it. It exists. How about that?
There's a lot of movies that just exist.
Yeah, you just.
But
watch one.
we talked about that the other day of like, there's no movies now that you can just sit down and you don't have to think. Like I want to just
pull in Wolverine.
Yeah, but you still have to think to like catch the nuanced jokes and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
saying
so.
like
Well, that's the 90s. That's what I was
the
saying.
90s had so many movies that you could just Super Troopers and Half Baked and even The Sandlot, like so many movies that you could just sit down and you don't think about. You're just like, cool.
Every time we go do a job for USM or any of the college level clients, all I think about is PCU.
Oh my God.
PCU
Can you
is
blow me
expensive.
where the Pampers is?
Yeah, it's so good.
Excuse me?
And then just that whole gag of like, don't be that guy.
Don't
Don't
be
be that. But now kids are that guy.
Uh-huh.
It is popular to wear the band, like they wear the shirt. I mean, we don't have Bug on to interpret young people metal situations, but I went to a metal festival not long ago and there was people wearing the shirt. Now, these people probably needed more clothing than just the shirt on. Yeah.
You were towards the north though, so
Now, I was in your country.
I know how it is up there.
A lot of folks from Ohio, a lot of mac and cheese fans.
Yeah, I would say they have to stay thoroughly thick for the winters. It's rough. It's
There's more mac and cheese offerings at that festival than a grilled cheeses on the
Skyway
the
Epic
Skyway Epic. Yeah.
aid station. Hey,
Yeah.
speaking of Skyway Epic aid station, shout out Scott. Hopefully you're recovering.
Oh, yeah,
Or
that's right.
I don't know if you actually had a surgery. Maybe. Hopefully you're recovering anyway. I know your elbow's trashed.
And Carrie.
And Carrie. She wasn't Skyway.
Well, she also has doesn't she have a boo-boo?
Yeah, her elbow, arm,
Also an elbow.
all elbows.
I think it's time to start wearing elbow pads, kids. Look like a kid from a Sunny D commercial from the 90s.
Man, we are 90s up today.
Yeah, I don't know. Just in the vibes for it.
I know the 90s is. Pat sent me a video recently of.
Pat wasn't born in the 90s.
Yes, he was. He's got to be on the edge. I don't even know actually. All right. Well,
No, he was but he's late 90s. I think he's going to be 96, 97.
Oh God, Pat.
Pat's in his 30s. Think about that for a second.
All right, well, this podcast is over.
This podcast is done.
So anyway, the video was about like dudes on Wave Sea-Doos when they first came out and like neon stuff, just doing crazy things.
Yeah.
And I was like, literally, the 90s was when men could be men and just do whatever they wanted without ridicule. And now he's like, yeah, they look gay. I was like, exactly. That's what I'm saying. You ridiculed them. So you proved my point. Like they could just do what they wanted.
Too good. Too good.
Those are, if you ever look back, it's like, man, everybody was just the 80s of all cocaine.
Yeah.
And everybody's just partying their asses off. And the 90s was just like, damn, like we can just take all that energy.
Well, the funny thing though is a lot of it, if you look at like a lot of the riders, people that we ride with on the regular, to tie it back into somewhat the culture that we're a part of, a lot of them not just make fun of Jake being stuck in the 90s, but a lot of the riding mentality is still that of the 90s. And I think for the older generation, because those were our heroes. Those were the guys that were sending it, doing stuff that we had never seen before. It was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, we had what was it Toby? It was Toby and Steve, Scuba Steve, talking about like the janky bikes that they were sending on and doing all this crazy stuff on it. And now it's a different vibe. Now it seems like the culture is like, what's the biggest stunt you can pull off, as opposed to necessarily like just being able to.
You know what? I think the culture shifted into just being like, who has the nicest trails, who spends the most money on trails,
right?
Like literally, that's the culture,
right?
And like, I do feel like the Reb vibe is it's hand built, it's old school. It makes you feel like you're in the 90s again,
right?
I don't know. Maybe it's selfish, but when you go ride places like that, it's like now everything, and social media does it because all these places are getting big, huge trails, and that's all you're like. You just want to have that concert ticket saying you went and rode it or you went and saw that band.
Yeah, and by the way, we're available to help you make those concert tickets.
That's right. I'll promote the shit out of it.
But
I'm saying that's
interesting.
That's the culture. It's not how good you are; it's how nice of trails you ride on regularly.
That's an interesting point. I think now though, if we look at a lot of it, I think there's been a lot of shifts. So like we've moved away. So you brought it up earlier, like men were different in the 90s, but I think it's also because the culture has shifted. So we've moved away from it's sort of ego driven, testosterone driven. Like, remember when things were extreme?
Yeah.
I mean, what we do, we're going to go ride here in a little while. And what we do on just an afternoon ride would have been considered extreme.
Right.
In that window of time. And it's still extreme to some
people.
We'd
be drinking Mountain Dews.
Exactly.
For sure.
Right. Mountain Dews. That's how the Kiwis don't pronounce they pronounce D's as J's. And so my buddy was married to a Kiwi and she was like, "Horse, will you give me a Mountain Dew?" And I was like, "I'm sorry, what?" And so for Christmas, she gave me a bottle of whiskey. Yeah, she gave me a bottle of whiskey and it says, "For my favorite Mountain Dew."
Wow.
On the back. Oh, it's perfect.
So here's my thought. And I had this thought about culture and shifts. Actually, listening to a podcast. I was in the shower. Give you more information. So our generation, our parents, most of our parents that are alive now, are the first generation that didn't go to war.
Right.
So
the boomers.
Our heroes are the first ones. Our heroes are the first ones that are athletes or that are extreme sport athletes that are public figures that aren't war heroes. Your parents and
Yeah.
all of them, their heroes were war heroes, or like somebody that went to war, whether it was their dad or their uncle or
Yeah.
somebody like that. And I think that might be a cultural problem. Not that we need war.
No. It's interesting you say that.
It's because I feel like we need those men that survived and did hard things.
I'm going to counter you with not just men. So I just listened to, and if you want to, I'll send it to you. It is freaking fascinating. Her name, I think it's Shannon Kent. I can't remember for sure. She was in a special operations group called the ISA. The ISA is like, they provide the intel to Delta. So
Right.
this is somebody going in, and they only use human, which is human intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
If you are an ISA, you are a tier above Delta. So like you're the elite of elite. In fact, ISA poaches people from CIA all over the place.
Yeah.
They're crazy, right? And they don't exist. And nobody talks about them. And it's all this stuff. She was in that. She was not only was she in the ISA, she was considered one of these guys are saying this, ex-SEALs and stuff. She's one of the greatest warriors they ever knew. She was a complete badass, mom of 2, married a dude in the ISA. So they would get deployed differently. Their kids staying home alone. They would come back. They would do all this stuff. And the story goes, the reason it's coming up is, I guess her husband wrote a book because she was getting ready to leave. And she was like, I don't know if I want to go. And I imagine every soldier goes through the same scenario. No fallen valor here, of course, or stolen valor, but I can understand that idea. Anyway, she goes and she was like, I just don't know if I should go this time or something. And sure enough, like she gets suicide bombed and killed.
Oh, God.
And so the dude's raising a kid. So they're trying to tell a story. My point is, it's interesting you bring it up because to me, those people, if you listen to them, they're not just going to tell you stuff about like war stories. They're going to turn around and tell you like stories about life.
Right.
So you hear about how to process. You've got a challenge in front of you, how to process through that challenge. And to me, that stuff is, to your point, we don't have this kind of heroes. What's LeBron's son going to do for me?
Right.
Like, who cares that his kid's playing in there? It's neat for a fleeting moment.
Right.
But there's no exchange there. Now, don't get me wrong. LeBron's done a ton of great stuff culturally, but like, and even on the donation side of things, the altruistic approach. But
yeah, but he doesn't like. You had a grandfather that was in the military.
Sure
I
did.
had 2 grandfathers in the military.
Yep.
Maybe you had 2 too. But those guys, I never one time heard my grandfather bitch about something trivial.
Right.
Like it was, and he didn't talk about the war. He wasn't talking about stuff that he experienced or anything like that. It was just do it.
Right.
Like just do it. Like it wasn't,
Yeah.
there's no arguing. There's no complaining because you have to go weed the garden, or there's no complaining because you got to get up and go to work, or there's no complaining because you got to stay fit, because you got to take care of your family, because if you don't, then you're going to die. And then they have no one to take care of. Like it's just a different hardened like mentality that I feel like we should all probably help each other develop again without the strife of war. Like,
what is the quote? Is it hard times make hard men, soft times make soft men?
and soft men make hard times,
and soft men make hard. Yeah, something like that.
I think it's something similar to that.
And so it just creates a cycle. But I mean, it is true. Like there's an extent of it.
True.
Now, that's not to say, interestingly, in preparation for Jank Fest, there's been a lot happening out there, and we'll talk about Jank Fest towards the end of the show. But one of the things is there's like new gaps, just new gap jumps. Nothing major, but new gap jumps. There's a huge one, but there's still new gaps. And I was talking to a friend of ours about it, and he wasn't quite ready to hit it. And I would never push anybody towards that. But there is a little bit of yourself where you got to be like, if I'm going to do it, I just have to do it, to your point. Like, and there's a little bit of that old school mentality of like, I got to just push myself through it. You have to make that push if you want to do it.
Right.
Luckily, none of this matters because it's a hobby.
Right.
But it's the same thing of like, what is stopping you? And this is what I get from a lot of those old timers that they talk about. They weren't thinking about the fear. They were just going to do it. They might have had fearful thoughts, but then they focused on the task and they've got to accomplish it. And now so much information comes into our brains through a variety of avenues that fear gets in the way. And we were laughing at each other because I was like, look, when I look at it, I look at this gap and I go, oh my God, what happens if I don't make it? Well, what, like in my brain, it's essentially saying that physics are just going to stop when I'm in the middle of the air.
Right.
I'm going 15 miles an hour. It's a bike length and a half. It's not anything major, but nope, physics are just going to stop. That's what's going to happen.
Because that's not what went in your head. The physics didn't. If I don't make this, my kids don't eat. The people I work with don't work. It's just like a trickle down. But back then it was like, if I don't make this, then I'm not a man, or whatever. That's
dead.
There's not.
If you're at war, there is no.
But I think that sometimes our lives now are so easy and
Yeah.
so comfortable that we don't have to face those things very often, right?
Well,
We don't
maybe
have
we
to
seek
fake.
them. Maybe we seek them.
Yeah, we're seeking them by writing. I think
Right.
everybody is. If you're seeking them by trying to make yourself uncomfortable, like be comfortable with being uncomfortable. I know it's a quote that people use a lot, but it's the truth. Like you having to face that gap jump is one decision that you had to make that could affect you greatly that you didn't make all week.
Right.
Chances are.
Yep.
Like you just went to work and you just did your job and
Yep.
you did what you know how to do. But doing that one, making that one decision is decisions that old timers or like our grandfathers had to make every day.
Right.
Like, damn, do I keep doing this with this machine that's probably going to cut my hand off in 3 minutes? Yeah, I got to because I got a choice.
Right.
Now we're doing it as a hobby. So
Yeah.
it's, and I try to say this, and I'm a parent, you're a parent, like a lot of listeners are parents. I say this at sporting events all the time. My wife always like smacks me. And I'm like, there's too much snowplow parenting. And I say that by you're pushing all the adversity out from in front of your kids so that they have a cruise control
Yep.
method right through life. Shit's going to hit the fan. Shit's going to hit them. My kids go to public school. They're going to see cultural diversity when they get out in the real world.
Yep.
Let them experience it on their own. I'm
Right.
not going to stand in their way.
But they have to form their own to get to that point.
Correct.
So like, there's only so much. It actually is interesting. We've talked mildly about this before. Jess Milton's interview when we had the lady on from Vinyl Cafe,
Yeah.
she talked about the weird look she gets because she just lets her kids climb trees.
Right. Yeah.
I don't let my kids climb trees because I'm still paranoid enough to like, and my kids are wieners. I mean, there's no way
Yeah.
around it. They're just wusses. But
I lost my son at Dolphin Island on the West End beach, so we're good.
there it is.
He just went to walk, and I was like, I can't see Ronan anymore.
It happens.
We found him. It's a dead end beach. He'd come back. There's
Yeah,
only one way
I
back.
mean, yeah. Or he's in Cuba, smuggled out.
Or he's like, hey, what's that? Oh, he's swimming now. Oh, hey.
But point is like, you're right. There has to be some, and I think sometimes when we get, if we think about it in terms of applying it to writing, but everything that I've learned from writing is applicable in my life as a business owner, as a father, as a husband, or whatever. Sometimes if you think about the risk too much and never do it, then you never do it.
Isn't
right?
the other quote like life's about the risks you don't take or something like that?
Yeah, something in that range.
Yeah. One of the posts I made was Michael Jordan said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So
Right.
it's similar.
Same idea.
Yeah.
But it's like, but some of that risk then gives you the confidence to accomplish another risk. So by having the confidence to hit that gap jump, as small as it may be and simplistic as to some, overcoming that fear for me gave me motivation to be like, you know what? I'm going to literally restructure my business because I've been afraid to do it. But now I feel pretty good about myself and I'm going to do it.
Mhm.
Having that kind of building those kind of moments does lead to something, not to circle back to the motivational stuff, but it's true
No, it's
that you're
confidence.
rewiring your brain. That's
Mhm.
what people have to realize is you are literally, as somebody who spends a lot of time in various forms of therapy, you're literally rewiring your brain.
We live in a culture that constantly is taking the confidence outside of you. So
Correct.
like you can't do this without someone else's help. You
Correct.
can't do this without
Or
the right.
you'll never look this good or be this good.
Correct.
Right.
You can't live a successful life without the right president in place.
Right.
You can't live a successful life without the right this in place.
Speaking of,
yeah.
you can listen to Joe Rogan right now.
I know.
I think old Donnie T's on there.
I know.
I bet that's gonna be a terribly hard listen.
He should have been us. He should have had the real presidents of the United States of America, Drew and Dale, on there.
What if he hears that and then we get a phone call?
Oh, dude, I'm be like,
I
fuck
don't
you,
know.
Joe.
But okay, but what are the conditions? So if let's say hypothetical here, we have a chance to be on the Joe Rogan show, but you have to do 60 seconds on Kill Tony.
Oh, I'm in. I thought about it today. I would do 100%. I could do it I could do it for sure.
Even if you get no laughs.
No, I'd get no laughs and I'd absorb all of it. Be like, come on, Tony, bring it. Dude, he was on College Game Day last week.
No way.
Yeah. And he said, he looked like a gay Bob the Builder to the kid that was kicking. He had like a Home Depot hat on and an orange vest. And what else did he say? He said something like, he goes, oh, I didn't know we were letting prepubescent lesbians on here. Like, it was ridiculous. Anyway, however, if we're on the Joe Rogan Experience, I don't even know what I would do. I'd be like, hey, can I
mean, the problem is I could bait him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know. Joe's really smart.
No, he's super smart, but you can still bait him. So you just need to know what he's interested in right now.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know. He goes back and forth.
He's not brought up Colonel.
Oh, no, he's went away from Colonel Faber.
Yeah, that's right.
He's moved on to the Callie and the Means family and the, whatever the, other
Whatever
stuff
he's
on.
obsessed with at the time. You can always talk about
Clean
billiards.
eating, RFK stuff.
I'm not talking about billiards.
No.
Yeah, that's a good question. What would you talk about on the Joe Rogan show? What would you lead with? Yeah,
Man, I
because
guess
it could be dead silence for me while I'm just thinking about it.
so what we just deduced right now
Yeah.
is that we're nowhere near interesting enough to go on the Joe Rogan
Absolutely
Experience
not.
to talk for 2.5 hours sober.
He would probably ask you a question.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes he does have people on there that you're kind of like, all right, in the first 10 minutes, what they're about is over, and now he's just rambling. And when Joe talks too much, it's a terrible podcast, just like this one when I talk too much.
Yeah, the guy I've really gotten a jam on who doesn't talk hardly at all is a guy named Sean Ryan. He's ex-military guy. That's
all
where
the
I
ex-military guys are awesome.
but it's perfect. Like he
Mhm.
lets them tell their story. He'll ask a question that's relevant. He just sits in silence, almost like a therapist. It's really wild. Like he just listens and then asks a poignant question.
I've actually moved on from Joe. I still listen to him when he has a guest I want.
Yeah.
I listen to Theo more because Theo is the
Theo's
old
great.
Joe
Yeah.
that doesn't have as many things. But Theo's going like, did you see the one with
JD Vance?
Yeah.
I didn't watch it or listen to it.
He said at one point, he says, so the problem now is, I can't believe I'm going to say this. The problem now is we can't do cocaine in the United States.
He said that to JD Vance.
JD Vance starts laughing hysterically. And he's like, well, I'm going to steal that quote, but I'm going to wait till after the election.
Oh my God. That's great though. Good
I
for
wanted
him.
to listen to it. Yeah, I'm
Good
sure.
for him to, I mean,
Theo
there's
says it.
that, and then I listen to Bad Friends, which Bad Friends is my jam. But that's the same random, stupid stuff. Like those two guys just say terrible things the entire time they're on, and they make fun of everyone.
Yeah.
And so I think that those are good. Those are good bits of again, if you look at comedy is a constant, and it went under fire for a moment for quote not being woke or not woke or whatever. They went under fire for a moment, but it fought back and it maintained a nice presence because it just powered through because it needed to exist.
Yeah,
which
I think that they went to they said, let's see how we can get canceled.
Right.
And they're like, the more cancelable you are, the funnier it is.
Right.
And then it's like, wait, you're not getting canceled because it's funny?
Well,
That's
I mean,
what comedy is.
Look at Matt Rife making it through. He can't just have done it on his looks. He's actually funny.
He is.
He says
funny.
some heinous stuff.
Oh my! I watch all the clips. I don't.
Yeah.
Because that's what he puts out mostly. But oh my goodness, he is so funny.
Yeah, he's talented. He's very talented. So speaking of talented, we have the Jank Fest coming up, and again, if you would like to attend, we had you can send it to Ride the Reb.
All of the formal invites went out this week.
Perfect.
So
yeah, so
I think for the most part,
just send your request over to us, and we will evaluate you and look at your social media following. You must have at least.
I'm sure, by the way, if you hadn't got a formal invite yet, I'm sure I forgot some people, but for the most part, I just went through the list from last year for the most part.
Look, the reality of it is, I think don't be ashamed to just be like, hey, can I come to Jank Fest? That's all we're saying. That's all you got to do. If the capacity is there, then yes, you probably.
However, if you are coming to Jank Fest, you better tell us because the food depends on that.
Yeah, that is important.
Because we are going to have food for a Friday night and Saturday afternoon, evening. The Reb will provide it. But if there's not enough food, it's because you didn't RSVP. So.
That's true. Yeah, and we're very excited about Friday night. Todd called that one out, and I think it was a genius call.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very Reb.
It's
very special Reb tradition that really only happens once a year, and this will be the once.
Yeah, it happened right around the same time last year. So
it is a caloric monster.
Yeah, you're gonna burn some calories Friday, and you're gonna put them back in.
You're gonna be net zero, baby.
Yeah.
Net zero.
So the amenities, some people ask, yes, you can camp.
Yep.
We have porta potties and no power
yep.
and water.
Yep.
But other than that, I mean, we might have some generators in the evening to give you some light, but
yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. It's more about having a good time.
It's primitive. It's caveman like. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, and if you do decide to look for Airbnbs or hotels, there are plenty. There are some close. There are some not as close. There are some kind of close. There's some people that stayed downtown last year, which is not that far away, but you're paying a premium for it. So
and you're gonna miss the fun. The fun is being dirty and gross and sitting around a campfire. Yeah. Honestly, that's my favorite.
Well, Friday night is my all-time favorite.
I live close enough to go home, and I'm not going home.
Right. Friday night is my jam. I enjoy Saturday night too, but Friday night was hands down one of the most fun things I've ever experienced.
I asked about the weather. What's the weather gonna be like? It's gonna rain, so just figure it out.
Maybe not. Maybe
if you go in with the attitude like, dude, it's gonna be muddy.
If you prep for rain and then it doesn't rain,
you'll be happy.
Right.
It's probably gonna be freezing. Watch, it's gonna be like something ridiculous.
Oh, I love it either way.
Oh, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, that's what makes Jankfest janky.
Yeah, it wouldn't be good to-
Race lines are good. The trails are super fun right now. I cannot express to you how much fun they are to ride. Maybe it's because we've ridden them so much. I think Chase and I have talked about this before. You know, you enjoy it, but after a while, like when it's a new trail, a new feature, it's super fun. And then it's just like, yeah, I'm good with it. And you just
Mhm.
enjoy the riding part. And that's kind of where we were. But now, right now, things are, oh, this is new. Oh, this is new. Like Rob just built us something out there. We can't talk a lot about it legally, by the way. We can just say Rob built us something. We're just
Okay.
gonna leave it at that.
All right, fair enough.
I realized when I was renewing our insurance.
Oh, okay.
Yep. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for this episode of the podcast. Just remember what Dale Boyd says.
Don't be a dick.
.com.
Man on a mission, I'ma get it. You know I be on a what?